Chapter 1. The historical context. To understand the significance of Maroboduus's rise, one must first grasp the historical context of the time. The Roman Empire, under Augustus, was expanding aggressively into Germania, seeking to secure its borders and assert its dominance over the tribes. The successful campaigns of generals like Drusus and Tiberius had resulted in Roman footholds in the region, which were met with fierce resistance. Germania was not a homogeneous entity but a tapestry of tribes, including the Cherusci, the Chatti, the Suebi, and the Marcomanni. Each tribe had its own aspirations and grievances against Rome, but the lack of a central leadership made cohesive resistance difficult. The threat of Roman expansion loomed large, pushing many tribes toward the idea of unification, and Maroboduus saw an opportunity to lead. Chapter 2. The rise of Maroboduus. Maroboduus was born into the Marcomanni tribe, a group that had long been entrenched in the territory south of the Elbe River. He was not just a warrior but a leader with a vision. Having spent time in Rome as a hostage, a common practice used by the Romans to secure loyalty, he understood the Roman military and political systems. This experience would prove invaluable as he sought to unite the tribes against Roman encroachment. Upon returning to Germania, Maroboduus embarked on a mission to consolidate power among the tribes. He employed diplomacy, strategic marriages, and displays of military strength to gain the loyalty of neighboring tribes. His ability to navigate the complex web of tribal politics and forge alliances was key to his rising influence. Maroboduus's charisma and leadership style attracted many tribes who were tired of Roman domination. He preached a message of unity, emphasizing that only together could they resist the imperial might of Rome. His vision resonated with the disparate Germanic tribes, setting the stage for a formidable alliance. Chapter 3. The formation of the alliance. By 5 AD, the unification of the Germanic tribes was well underway. Maroboduus called a great assembly of tribes to solidify this alliance. Leaders from various groups came together, drawn by the prospect of shared strength against a common enemy. The assembly was held at a neutral site, away from the influence of Rome, to ensure that all voices could be heard. At this gathering, Maroboduus articulated his vision for a united Germania, emphasizing the importance of collective action. He proposed a coordinated strategy to confront Roman forces, which had begun to probe deeper into Germanic territories. The tribes agreed to set aside their differences and collaborate, marking a significant moment in the history of Germanic resistance. The formation of this alliance sent shockwaves throughout Rome. Reports of Maroboduus's unification efforts reached the ears of Augustus and his generals, prompting concern about the potential for a coordinated uprising. The Romans understood that a united front of tribes could pose a serious threat to their ambitions in Germania. Chapter 4. The strategic challenges ahead. Despite the enthusiasm surrounding the newly formed alliance, Maroboduus faced significant challenges. The Germanic tribes had their own customs, leadership structures, and agendas, making it difficult to maintain cohesion. Additionally, the Romans were not sitting idle. They were ramping up their military presence in the region. Maroboduus recognized that unity would require careful management of tribal politics. He employed a strategy of inclusion, ensuring that tribal leaders felt valued and had a voice in decision-making. He understood that a coalition forged in trust would be far more effective against Rome than a loose confederation of disparate groups. To further solidify the alliance, Maroboduus organized joint military exercises, allowing the tribes to practice their tactics and build camaraderie. He emphasized the importance of discipline and coordination, instilling a sense of shared purpose among the warriors. These efforts would prove crucial as tensions with Rome escalated. Chapter 5. The Roman response. As news of the Germanic alliance spread, the Roman leadership began to strategize a response. Augustus, although aging, was determined to secure the empire's northern borders. The rise of Maroboduus and the unification of the tribes posed a direct challenge to Roman authority, and the emperor could not afford to let this situation fester. Augustus dispatched his trusted generals, including Tiberius, to assess the situation and formulate a plan of action. The Roman military was well equipped and experienced, but the prospect of facing a united coalition of Germanic tribes was daunting. Tiberius understood that any military campaign would require careful planning, as the terrain and local knowledge of the tribes could be advantageous. Roman intelligence began to gather information on the Germanic forces, monitoring their movements and assessing their strength. The Romans recognized that their traditional tactics might not suffice against an adaptable enemy that was willing to fight for their homeland. Chapter 6. The Gathering Storm. By the summer of 5 AD, tensions between the Germanic tribes and the Roman Empire reached a boiling point. Maroboduus rallied his forces, emphasizing the urgency of their cause. The message was clear. To defend their land, culture, and way of life, the tribes needed to be prepared for the inevitable clash with Rome. The alliance began to mobilize troops from various tribes, each contributing warriors to the collective effort. Maroboduus's leadership became increasingly prominent as he organized the forces, strategically positioning them to counter Roman advancements. His reputation grew as a military strategist, and he quickly became a symbol of resistance against Roman imperialism. The Romans, under Tiberius, advanced into Germanic territories, seeking to establish control over key areas. The Germanic tribes were determined to defend their land, and skirmishes broke out along the borders. The first engagements revealed the tenacity of the Germanic warriors, who fought fiercely for their homeland, challenging the notion of Roman invincibility. Chapter 7. The Battle of the River Elbe. As the summer months wore on, tensions culminated in a significant confrontation. The Romans sought to cross the Elbe River, a strategic location that would allow them to push deeper into Germanic territory. Maroboduus recognized the importance of defending this natural barrier and called for a decisive engagement. The Battle of the River Elbe unfolded in the late summer of 5 AD. Germanic forces, united under Maroboduus, gathered to confront the Roman legions. The tribes, inspired by the vision of a united Germania, prepared for battle with a mix of determination and apprehension. As dawn broke on the day of the battle, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Maroboduus positioned his forces strategically along the riverbanks, utilizing the terrain to his advantage. The Germanic warriors, clad in furs and wielding a variety of weapons, formed a solid front, ready to repel the Roman advance. On the other side of the river, Tiberius commanded the Roman legions, equipped with the discipline and training that characterized Roman military might. The Romans were confident in their ability to overwhelm the disunited tribes, yet they underestimated the resolve of their adversaries. As the battle commenced, the clash of steel and the cries of warriors echoed across the river. The Germans, fueled by a shared purpose and a desire to protect their homeland, fought fiercely. Maroboduus's leadership became evident as he coordinated attacks and rallied his men, proving himself a formidable commander on the battlefield. The Roman legions, accustomed to swift victories, faced unexpected resistance. The determination of the Germanic tribes forced the Romans to adapt their tactics, and the battle devolved into a brutal contest of attrition. Both sides suffered heavy losses, but the sheer tenacity of the Germanic warriors began to turn the tide. Chapter 8. The Aftermath of the Battle. The Battle of the River Elbe concluded with a hard-fought and costly victory for the Germanic tribes. While the Romans had been forced to retreat, the cost of the victory was steep for the tribes. Many brave warriors had fallen, and the specter of further conflict loomed large. In the aftermath of the battle, Maroboduus sought to capitalize on the victory. He called for a council of tribal leaders to discuss the next steps in their resistance against Rome. The momentum from the battle had galvanized the tribes, and the desire for continued unity was palpable. Maroboduus emphasized the importance of maintaining the alliance. He understood that the victory at the Elbe was just one battle in a much larger struggle. He urged the leaders to continue collaborating, sharing resources, and strengthening their military capabilities. His ability to inspire hope and determination played a crucial role in keeping the coalition intact. However, not all leaders were convinced of the necessity of continued unity. Some tribes began to question the cost of war and considered returning to their traditional ways. The pressure of Roman retaliation was a formidable force, and dissent within the alliance threatened to undermine their collective efforts. Chapter 9. The Roman Response. A call for reinforcement. In the wake of the defeat at the Elbe, Tiberius returned to Rome to report on the situation. The Roman Senate was alarmed by the news of a united Germanic force, and discussions ensued regarding the necessity of reinforcing their military presence in Germania. The battle had exposed vulnerabilities that could not be overlooked. Augustus, though aging, remained actively involved in the decisions affecting the empire. He recognized that the situation in Germania was precarious, and he urged the Senate to allocate resources for a larger military campaign. The idea of a decisive victory over the Germanic tribes became a matter of pride for Rome, as well as a strategic necessity. Tiberius was tasked with leading the next campaign, and he understood that he needed to adapt his approach to counter the unyielding spirit of the Germanic alliance. He began to develop a strategy that involved not just brute force, but also a more nuanced understanding of the tribe's motivations and the landscape of the region. Chapter 10. A battle of wits. And as 6 AD approached, the stage was set for another confrontation. Maroboduus continued to solidify his leadership, while internal tensions within the alliance were addressed through diplomacy and communal gatherings. The Germanic tribes were united by a shared identity and purpose, yet the specter of internal dissent lingered. The Roman campaign, led by Tiberius, aimed to reassert dominance in Germania. The Romans launched a series of calculated maneuvers designed to outflank and disrupt the Germanic forces. Tiberius recognized that brute force alone would not suffice. He sought to exploit divisions among the tribes while also showcasing Roman military might. Maroboduus, aware of Roman tactics, remained vigilant. He organized scouts and intelligence networks to keep tabs on Roman movements. The collaboration among tribes allowed for rapid communication, ensuring that they could respond to any Roman incursions swiftly. As the two forces clashed once more, the landscape of Germania bore witness to the resolve of both sides. The battles were not just contests of military strength, they became tests of will, determination, and the unyielding desire for freedom among the Germanic tribes. Chapter 11. The shift in momentum. The year 6 AD saw the Germanic alliance continuing to evolve. Despite their initial victory, the Germanic tribes faced challenges. The pressure of ongoing warfare and the realities of sustaining an army began to take a toll. Maroboduus sought to address these issues by reinforcing supply lines and ensuring that the tribes remained committed to the cause. The Romans, under Tiberius, were relentless. They adapted their strategies and sought to exploit weaknesses within the Germanic alliance. Tiberius recognized that psychological warfare could be just as effective as physical confrontation. He began to spread disinformation, attempting to sow discord among the tribes and erode the unity that Maroboduus had worked so hard to establish. Despite these challenges, Maroboduus's leadership remained crucial. He emphasized the importance of resilience and commitment to the fight against Rome. He organized further gatherings, fostering a sense of camaraderie among the tribes. The Germanic identity began to solidify, transcending tribal affiliations as they rallied behind their leader. As the winter months approached, both sides prepared for the harsh conditions. The Romans sought to fortify their positions, while Maroboduus worked to ensure that his warriors were well equipped and motivated. The struggle for supremacy in Germania continued, marked by the tenacity of both leaders.